At this point in time, we would like to open a public hearing. The public hearing will be today at 6 o'clock, and it will deal with Livingston Parish Ordinance 21-13, 21-15, and 21-16. If there's anyone that would like to comment on any of those three ordinances, now would be the time you approach the podium and make public comment. Yeah, we'll go ahead and read them by title, Ms. Sandy.
First one is Ordinance 21-13. This is an ordinance amending chapter 125 of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish subdivision regulations, part 1 in general, by adding section 125-30 for replacement of the last box. The next one is Ordinance 21-15. This is an ordinance as follows: revoking the dedication of banning quick claim in favor of Howard Capital Corporation, a 50-foot all-purpose servitude identified by the shaded portion as shown on the map showing the rotation of a 50-foot all-purpose servitude located in section 20, 21, Township 6, South Range 3 East, Greensburg Land District, Livingston Parish, Louisiana, by Property Burgess Professional Land Surveyor, Civil Design and Construction, Inc., dated March the 3rd, 2021. The third one is for Ordinance number 21-16, and this is an ordinance setting the millage rates as adjusted for the tax year 2021.
No comment on the public hearing?
Before we,
Come on up.
In regards to Ordinance 16,
Come on, state your name and your address, please.
Garrett Boysen, 13416 Arnold Road, Walker, Louisiana. So in regards to Ordinance 16, talking about millage, I saw that library bond was mentioned, and it's listed on the agenda as like 1.5.
Okay, so basically what happened is last year was a reassessment year, so all properties were reassessed. Once the value of the assessment was determined, millages were adjusted down so that the collection of revenue would be equal in 2021 to what existed in 2020. Now is the time for those agencies to request that their millage be rolled back to what was approved by the voters. So basically, we're raising the millages for next year or this year comparable to what they were last year. That's what the item is for. So basically, the 1.5 is the millage is to retire the bond that was used to construct the libraries initially.
Okay, I thought this was in regards to the drainage.
No, this is only to roll the library bond millage back to 1.5, which is what it was last year.
Okay, so is that the meeting on the 9th of June?
That meeting, there was an item on the agenda tonight for the public hearing comment on the item related to, no, there wasn't anything about the library bonds. I mean, the library, there was no item on the agenda tonight with respect to doing that. So the only item on the address library was just to roll the bond up. Okey doke?
So, is 9th in regards to the drainage thing?
I don't- we'll have an ordinance committee meeting on the 7th, and then if something comes out of that, then it could possibly be an introduction on the 9th, and that item will come out. If that's possible, it'll be on the agenda for the 7th. But to be quite, is it the 7th of? The 8th. The meeting's on the ordinance is on the 8th, and the council on the 10th would be on the 10th of June. But I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't be overly concerned about it if I was you. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. You want it to stay the way it is now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
Well, I think that's kind of, hey, since y'all just gonna blurt out some stuff, I think it's important to actually understand what's in the proposal before you make up your mind.
Okay. So we answer your question on the public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Is there any other comment on the public hearing?
Mr. Talbot, we had 3 different items on that public hearing, right? Can you go through each one? Because I think there might be some people here to talk on some, and then they're not
Well,
sure
So here's the deal. Because we're having a public hearing and because it involves the thing, we're doing it different. We're still probably gonna open the public hearing on 13 and 15 when they come around. But because of the way that the rules are structured, we're gonna open them.
okay.
So this public hearing is really to adjust 21-16, and we'll have public comment on 13 and 15 at a later time before we vote. Is there anybody else who wants to comment on the public hearing at this time? Let's close the public hearing. At this point in time, we'd like to, open the Livingston Parish regular council meeting for May 27th at 6 o'clock. Mr. R., you have the invitation tonight.
Yes, I've asked Miss Sandy Till if she would do that part tonight.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we're so grateful for the freedom we have right now to stand right here in this place. Lord, we just pray your Holy Spirit would feel welcome here and help guide and direct each one of these council members, our parish president, and our attorney, Lord. Please be with us because we need you. We just call out to you, Lord, because without you, everything is in vain. And we just promise to give you all the praise as you alone are worthy. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Mr. Delat, could you lead us in pledge of allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Sandy, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Ard?
Here.
Mr. Talbert?
Here.
Mr. Wascom?
Here?
Mr. McMorris?
Here.
Mr. Delat?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Mack?
Here.
Mr. Eaton?
Here.
Mr. Garlinghouse?
Here.
All present.
At this time, we'd like to remind everyone to either mute or turn off your cell phone at this time. Item 6 is public input. We're gonna have those items, we'll have public input at those items as they come up. There'll be time to make your comments. 7 presentations, we have none tonight. Item 8 is where it's the adoption of LP Ordinance 21-13. This should be the public hearing. This thing has been tabled indefinitely. We've still got to open the public hearing tonight for comment, but this item will not be voted on by the council. It's going to be tabled. It will be revisited with some public hearings and some roundtable discussions, and the ordinance will be drafted again by Gravity 1, as I understand, for submittal back to the council at a later date. At this point in time, we'd like to open public hearing on LP Ordinance 21-3. Ms. Sandy, you want to? Oh, never mind, we've already done the public hearing, so I don't have to do it again? Okay, so this one, but John is concerned that people want to comment.
There
on
may
it.
be some,
Always have public input on each agenda.
Okay, so we're not, we're done with 8. Item 9, adoption of LP ordinance.
are you,
I'll turn mine, I'll unmute mine.
do you want to ask anyone if they want to speak on that? I mean, that item, I mean,
I was going to.
well, I think what she said
Okay,
was.
does anybody really want to comment on 8 at this point in time, since it's going to be tabled and not heard tonight? Okay, nobody wants.
Okay, and that's regarding the fielder.
That's regarding the dirt.
Okay.
Item 9, adoption of LP ordinance 21-15. Ms. Sandy, you want to read by title?
This is proposed ordinance 21-15, revoking the dedication of any equipment in favor of Power Capital Corporation, and Fifty-Foot Operating Services identified by shape portion of the general map. On the revocation of the 50-foot all purpose located in section 2021, Township 6 South, Range Street, East, Freeburg Land District, Livingston Parish, Louisiana, by Ralph E. Burns, professional land surveyor, civil design and construction, dated March 3rd, 2021.
Okay, we have had a public hearing on this. If anybody would like to make comment before the council discusses it, you're more than welcome to. Nobody would like to make comment. Do we have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. King. Do we have a second? Got a second by Mr. McMorris. Is there any discussion among the council members? Is there any objection to this item? All in favor say aye. Aye. Item 9 carries. Item 10, adoption of LP ordinance 21-16. Ms. Sandy, you want to read by title?
This is proposed ordinance 21-16. It's an ordinance setting the millage rates as adjusted for the tax year 2021.
Okay, we've already had the public hearing. Was there a motion on this item? A motion by Mr. Girlinghouse, second by Mr. Mack. Is there any discussion amongst council members? Is there any objection to this ordinance? All in favor say aye. Aye. Item 10 carries. Item 11, Parish President's Report. A resolution to accept the completed 2021 compliance questionnaire for audit engagements of governmental entities for the period of January 1, 2020 through December 1, 2020 by Ms. Jennifer Myers. Ms. Myers is not here.
She went over this in finance with us. Everything seems to look good. So,
Second, Mr. Owens.
she just asked us to.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Ard, second by Mr. Delat. Is there any objection? All in favor say aye. Aye. Item 11 carries. Item 12, Livingston Parish Grants Department resolution authorizing the parish president to enter contract negotiations agreement with Alvin Fairburn and Associates LLC to perform engineering services for the Livingston Parish Sewer District Oxidation Pond Closure and Removal Project. This is a hazard mitigation grant program project FEMA-4277-DR-LA project number 112. Yes, sir.
Well, as you indicated, hazard mitigation project to close an unused cell of the Livingston Parish Sewer District to mitigate any possibility that there be a rupture of a levee and spillage of what it contains. Let's put it that way.
Whose area is this? Whose area is that?
Huh?
Whose area?
It's
Bubbles, really.
No, the oxidation pond's off Lockhart. So the oxidation pond is actually in Scooters District, and the
Oh, that's the
district.
one we're doing this time. We got another one. Okay.
This is the old pond
That's
that
one in
developed a
the
leak
back.
after the flood. season.
That is
Okay.
correct. It has
So we
leaked
got a
before.
motion by
Yeah, that's a
Scooter,
motion, yeah.
got a second by
You gotta get rid of that.
Mac. Is there any objection? All in favor say aye. Aye. This carries. The second is submittal of the Louisiana Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus HVAC Improvement Program application for repairs and upgrades to the HVAC system of the Livingston Parish Health Unit and Livingston Parish Detention Center. Approved submissions of applications and resolution of endorsement. Mr. Kissel.
This is to improve repair in the air handling units of both of those buildings in effort to mitigate and protect the occupants, employees, and visitors to those two facilities, again, mitigate the COVID-19 threat.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Okay, so this is a motion to submit the application and a motion for resolution of application. Resolution of endorsement.
Resolution of endorsement.
So we got a motion by Mr. Delat, we got a second by Mr. Ard. Is there any, yes,
You
Ms.
need
Sims?
to authorize Mr. Layton to do anything?
No, all they want is, this is not, we're just submitting the application, we authorize them to submit the application and resolution endorsement. So we've got a motion and a second. Is there any objection to this? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, Mr. Kistler. Item B carries. Item 13, Livingston Parish Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness. Item A, adoption of resolution to amend the Livingston Parish Regulations booklet. Y'all have all been given that. We've had to amend this. This thing was, had to be advertised, and it goes back and addresses some wording in another ordinance. So is there any discussion amongst the council on the wording that they have requested to amend the booklet?
We've looked at that so many
Is there any
times.
comment from the public? Do we have a motion to amend? Got a motion by Mr. Girlinghouse, second by Mr. King. Is there any objection? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, item A carries. Item 13A carries. Item 14, Planning Commission recommendations. This is deferred from the May 13, 2021 regular meeting of council. Item A, Loretta Townhomes. Is anybody here representing the planning department? Okay, so do we have somebody representing Quality Engineers on Loretta Townhomes?
Evening, sirs, ma'am. This is George McCallum representing Quality Engineering and Loretta Townhomes. As previously, at the previous meeting, Mr. Sam came in and indicated that this has passed or has the approval of the Planning Commission. It meets all the ordinances, and it was their recommendation to approve.
And it was deferred for,
Yeah, I requested defer it because we were looking at passing that ordinance to improve the drainage, and
Okay.
that's been deferred, so to me, that's
Okay, so-
irrelevant. No reason to defer it anymore, but I just want to make sure that we get it on the record that it says that the planning department approved it contingent upon the relocation of the treatment plant.
Yes, sir.
So,
have
okay.
y'all addressed that?
That has been addressed.
Go ahead, Mr. Harris.
The main concern that I found from the residents of Montrose, which is affecting, was drainage. And after talking to Wesley, Drainage District 1, and he said they've got a plan in place to help drain it. part of it has got to go toward, the Walker South, out that way. And that where the townhomes are going to be is going around to another drainage canal, crossing 16 and going to Grays Creek. So that should help with all the drainage in Montrose. You can't stop building. I mean, that's plumb out of the question. We'd be sued so bad, we'd never get out of debt.
Yeah.
We have a motion?
Yeah.
Got a motion by Mr. Girlinghouse, we have a second. That second by Mr. Zalat. Is there any objection amongst the council? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, Carol. Item 15. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We need to do a couple things first. We're gonna take care of two items. We're gonna do item 17, and then we're gonna do item 16 behind it, and then we're gonna do item 15. So item 17 is to adopt a resolution to add the following roads for consideration to the capital outlay priority road list. Y'all all see the list of roads. Is there any objection? If there's no objection amongst the council, we can add these at one time. If there's an objection amongst the council, we'll have to do them individually. Is there objection on the council? We have a motion to enter them all at one time. Got a motion by Mr. Girlinghouse, second by Mr. Harris. Is there any public comment on item 17 with respect to the roads that we're adding to the list? Billy, as I understand, this is a cumulative list that's been developed over a period of time.
Yes, sir, just every couple weeks I get a request from you guys, I just like to bring them all at one time. So.
Okay, so if there being no objection among the members, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, that list carries. Item 16, which is the adopt a resolution to amend the capital outlay 3-year priority road list by Mr. Billy Taylor. Let's take them individually. Let's do A, Billy. Let's do A first.
Okay. You answered my question. I don't know if there's going to be individual. So A is, this is actually in Council District 4. We were requested to add 3 streets, Linwood Street, Railroad Avenue, and 3rd Street, all in one little area. They all connect, and actually remove Myrtle Street. And it's actually a little bit less linear footage of street. All 3 of those is less than what we had before, so we don't expect a change in contract price. We're just moving footage from one street to another. So,
Mr. Watson.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Watson, got a second by Mr. Zalat. Is there any objection amongst the council? All in favor say aye. Aye. Item carries. Let's go to B, Billy.
all right, item B. This is to reduce the footage of construction on King Bay Road. Add JW Lane, which is off of King George Bay Road, and also add a portion to Palmer Road. So basically, we're going to get the worst parts of King George Bay. There's a couple spots that are really bad, and the rest of it's not so bad. JW Lane's off of it, and it's in bad condition, so we want to do it while we're there. And then we're going to take the rest of the footage that was on King George and move it to Palmer, which is really bad and needs some work. So anyway, again, we're not adding any footage to the road program, and we don't expect a change in contract price.
Okay, so this is, got a motion by Mr. Zalat. There's a second by Mr. McMorris. Is there any comment amongst the council members? Is there any objection? All in favor say aye. Aye. That item carries. Thank you, Billy. Okay, now that we jumped around, let's go back to item 15. This is Livingston Parish Farm drainage issues. This item was put on by Mr. Zalat at the request of Mr. Nethery. I want to make just a little comment real quick before we get too involved in this. This is a legislative body. The work being done within the parish is run by the administration, and we have little or no say in that. So we're glad to give you some time to voice your concerns, but understand this council can do nothing about doing any work within the parish.
Yes,
I just
sir.
wanted to go ahead and clarify that. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Nethery.
Thank you.
Want to introduce yourself and your address?
I'm Greg Nethery. I have Livingston Farm subdivision. My mailing address is 11808 Oak Shadow in Baton Rouge. Mr. Chairman and Council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come out and talk in this forum. I really appreciate it. Livingston Farms is a 75-acre tract of land with 30 wooded lots. Of the 30 lots, 26 are Zone X and 4 are Zone A. Livingston Farms is fronted by State Highway 63 and Parish Road, Clyde Blunt, with access to each property from those public roads. We're about 2 miles from the interstate. Livingston Farms received preliminary approval as a subdivision without improvements in October 2018 by the Planning Commission under the regulations dated January 23, 2018, with a promise to address drainage issues. In good faith, CGN Properties acquired the property January 9, 2019. Livingston Parish Review Engineer requested a drainage impact study and was provided that DIS. The detention pond and outflow structure was requested by the Parish Review Engineer, and CGN Properties constructed the pond and the outflow to Clyde Blunt. The Parish Review Engineer signed final approval for 9/23. Livingston Parish Planning Director signed final approval of the subdivision of 9/24/19. DPW then cut the ditch to facilitate the outflow structure. The drainage issues have not been addressed, and we need some help. We're not here to complain, we're here to find solutions. Parish Road, Clyde Blunt ditches need to be cleaned on both sides. There's standing water almost year-round, which is causing a degradation as the water in the ditches is breaking down our road. It's crumbling right now all along the sides, on both sides. There's the water's in there almost year-round, and mosquitoes are horrible. Solution, we just need to clean the ditches on both sides so that it will drain. Rainwater, item 2, I only have 3 items. I'm going to be quick. Item 2, rainwater from near I-12 is running over Parish Road, Oliver Week, and onto the ditches in Clyde Blunt and Highway 63. The Highway 63 ditch water has been diverted from Highway 63 ditch just below and right on the property line of the RV campground and onto a 30-acre tract owned by Miss Pat Bryan. And she's here tonight. This water floods the RV park, and the ditches on both sides are dry. The water leaves the highway and goes onto her property right behind the RV park, and then flows due south 850 feet, and then overruns our detention pond and outflow structure, which causes it to go over all of the driveways and wash the driveways. I do understand the legislative side of this. You guys, the council, approved our subdivision unanimously, and we appreciate that. While this Highway 63 ditch is dry on both sides during heavy rains at this place in the ditch, when it runs south, it goes over our detention pond, fills our detention pond, and then it floods also the fronts, because once it goes into the detention pond, it goes out the outflow structure and it floods the driveway. Now, our elevation there runs from 26 to 23 feet. According to Louisiana DOTD, according to LIDAR, which was provided by U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, this water historically and naturally flowed before it was diverted across Highway 63, and there, between the Lake Estates and there's a stand of timber there, there are 2 ditches that go to Little Coyette. Those ditches are dry, even after a 13-inch rain. It's the most amazing thing. One ditch is full, it runs into a private property, and then comes 850 feet south and floods our zone next properties. We've got, according to Louisiana Department of Transportation, and this is not your problem, but 2 culverts have been removed at Clyde Blunt and Pearwood. There's been some comment about, well, that's the state, and it is. It's their state right away. But when we have ditches without a way out, that is the definition of a pond. And when that pond fills up, it runs over our property and then over Clyde Blunt Road. And then it tries to go out through two double barrel culverts. And we've had some engineering folks look at it. They're here, Wade Broussard from McLean Taylor has looked at it for some advice on what to do with that drainage problem. So all of the water from 8 or 10 culverts is coming down one side of the road, which is the side we're on. It's coming first through our property and then out onto the road. And then when it gets to the end where it's supposed to go south, it's blocked. It comes back through another ditch that was dug by Department of Public Works, according to Sam. And it goes through that ditch and it gets to two 18-inch equivalent culverts. And it fills up and then it goes over the road and it sits in there sometimes for 4 days. And school buses are going through there with kids on it. I mean, it's a mess. And I think, Jeff, you've been out there and you've seen that. And I appreciate you coming out and taking a look at it. And I know that Randy Glatt has been out there. And I know y'all probably get tired of hearing about drainage. But, I mean, it's something we've got to try to find a solution to. I think that the engineers can help us with this problem. And I'm willing to help as well. Now, we've got several of landowners there. They've already built 2 beautiful homes out there, and we've got 4 more being constructed right now. And we just, if we can, I know you are a legislative piece of this government, but we need a little help. There's no drainage south of a lateral cover, and I'm worried that our MODAD systems are going to back up and go into the houses after they're built. The solution would be to redirect this water off of the RV park and Miss Bryan's property and back into the ditches so that it can go through the equalizer culverts and to its natural flow as indicated by LIDAR. That's where the water is supposed to go, and that's according to the Corps, and that's according to a LIDAR. And third and final, I'm not an engineer, but according to our DIS, our drainage impact study, there are some 520 acres draining, potentially some 140 cubic feet per second across our property. And our detention pond and outflow structure. Of course, our drainage structure is unable to handle this much water. We have even enlarged the detention pond by 4x to try to hold it, to try to slow it down. It's impossible. This water flows south along Clyde Blunt and the detention pond and the Highway 63 ditches, then east through the detention outflow, then to Clyde Blunt and through a lateral ditch from 63 constructed by Livingston Parish across the subdivision years ago from Highway 63. All of this water is choked at 2 culverts at Clyde Blunt, which then overflow Clyde Blunt. The water then flows east into the woods and within a lateral ditch constructed by DPW, Livingston Parish Department of Public Works, to a warehouse or gravel road, which acts as a levee behind our subdivision. It's just, 30 feet from our subdivision. And that water gets in there in the elevation, and the engineer, Wade can speak more to this, but the elevation on that road is 23, I think, 23 feet. And that's exactly the level of 2358 of our subdivision on that end. And what it does is as soon as it runs over that road, it stops rising. So we would like to see if we can get some help to put some culverts in there and get that ditch cleaned out so that water will get off of our road. We've got a great, quiet road there. We want to protect our road, and it's breaking down. And again, we're asking that Livingston Parish clean those lateral ditches across our subdivision, improve the culverts at Clyde Blunt, improve the warehouse. There's one culvert there at the end on warehouse, and I know that's a private road, but we got to do something. There's got to be some way to figure it out, because you can see it going over the road. As soon as it goes over the road, it stops. Okay, it stops rising on our road. The school buses are coming through there, they're turning around. Sometimes they just blast through. And that's, we're asking that we get some help with that so that we can improve our drainage. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, if you have any questions for our engineers or any of our folks, any more talk, could they just raise their hand and come up?
So when you did a drainage impact study in the beginning, you didn't know these problems existed on this piece of property?
No, sir. I didn't.
Sir, I think anybody in Livingston Parish knew this piece of property, how bad it was floods. If you lived here all your life, and I feel bad for you guys. I think it can be done, get it cleaned out, the ditches. That would have to go through the parish, but that property there is, it's been like that since I've been a kid, 50 years. So,
Really?
yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a great Zone X property that water's been diverted from the ditches onto our property.
Yes, sir.
And I know the DPW doesn't go on private property. And so I'm wondering how these ditches are out there.
I just got a couple of questions. I don't know anything about the project. I've rode through there when it's sunshine. But, so you said in the beginning, this was a subdivision that was developed without improvements?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the drainage impact study, did it address the impact upstream and downstream of this development?
You know,
And what the plan was for that, and the developer, was he required to meet the recommendations of the drainage impact study?
you know, I'm not an engineer, but I believe we met all of those requirements for the.
All the DIS is trying to do is determine what the outfall rate of the property is prior to development. So basically, you look at an undeveloped piece of property, whether you cut a road in it, whether you cut ditches in it, whatever you do, it looks at the way that the road, property basically outfalls. Then there's a calculation based on when they make some changes, they look at the outfall. If it's within the guidelines, you don't have to do anything. If it's not within the guidelines, then you've got to divert the water through retention so that you let the rate of outfall equal to what it was prior to any improvements made on the property or any development that might be done. So they don't really look at the overall drainage. What they look at is where the water, they go pull the profile of the property, look at where the water sheets, and based on a rain event, they'll look at the calculation based on the flora and fauna, what the water leaves the property at currently. Then they will make adjustments for improvements, and then look at the calculation on the same rain event at what rate the water leaves the property. If it exceeds the variable that's set forth in the ordinance, then you have to retain the water through a retention pond and then release it so that it's not any greater than it was originally. So in essence, it could be a bowl that when it rains, it leaves at X, and when they make the improvements, it leaves at X plus 3, then what they do is build retention so that retention leaves at X again. That's all they're looking at. They're not looking at any other of the drainage with respect to that on the drainage impact statement. Now, we have since then changed the rules. On a 25-year, you gotta look, but initially, I think when this was done, it was just a straight drainage impact statement. All you had to do was make sure that the water didn't leave at a greater rate than it was prior to development.
I got a couple more comments. Go ahead.
You finish up.
The only thing I want to say about that is this is a prime example of how screwed up the drainage systems are in 80% of Livingston Parish outside the current gravity drainage districts that are funded. What this council is trying to do with Gravity Drainage District 8 that was recently created is trying to do in some way, shape, or form is establish dedicated funding and dedicated resources so that we are authorized to go and actually work with you and the people of that Gravity Drainage District 8 to make drainage improvement projects, right? It's unfortunate that 80% of Livingston Parish has zero dedicated funding, zero, and zero dedicated resources to be able to come in there and do the work that you're requesting us to do. But to me, what needs to happen is you're gonna need a drainage impact study that encompasses upstream and downstream stormwater runoff. And based on that study, a game plan can be developed such that it doesn't have negative impact downstream, that you can go in there and that you can calculate the flows and capacities of these culverts with an engineered design that truly makes a difference, and then that you'll have funding to actually go in there and, you know, construct the design that from the drainage impact study. You know, and I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out there. There's a lot more discussion to be made on dedicated funding and the purposes of gravity drainage district 8 and how Livingston Parish, outside those funded gravity drainage districts, as time goes on, as we grow and we populate, it's gonna be more and more of a drainage disaster if we don't try to get some help, you know? And I understand that there's a lot of folks within this parish, you know, that don't see eye to eye with some proposed funding mechanisms that's being discussed at this moment. But I'm just gonna ask that at this time, you just be open-minded, and this proposal that's gonna be coming about for the people of Livingston Parish, just take a long, hard look at it, okay? And you decide, you know, if you feel like this is the best direction for Livingston Parish or not. And so, the only thing I'm gonna say, and this is outside my district area, and I don't wanna overstep my bounds, but I'm willing to help in any way, shape, or form, request that the Livingston Parish Department of Public Works go in there, and if it's parish roads, and they can install some culverts or something, you know, they look at it, maybe the parish president, his administration, review engineer can get together and take a look at this thing and see if in any way, you know, that sensible, reasonable amount of money that can be spent to maybe make this place a nice place to live. You know, recently, a friend of mine that I grew up with was talking about buying a lot in this subdivision right here. And those houses being built, they're nice houses, and they're big, and they're high-dollar houses, is the best of my understanding. And it's just a shame that people, you know, I guess you could say, don't quite understand that there's zero dedicated funds, there's zero dedicated resources. It's extremely hard to be able to go in there and fix the problem that you have, you know, and it's just unfortunate that subdivisions are being developed in areas that there is no funding mechanism in place, you know, to be able to fix these problems. So as the discussions come up, you know, let's just be open-minded and think about what's best for Livingston Parish. Now, giving the floor to the others, you know, I don't want to take this over, but this is a prime example of how it is all over District 8. And I think it's time that we make some changes to improve our drainage systems in Livingston Parish before it's too late. And so just once again, if it be the wishes, you know, if y'all feel like that's the right thing to do, I'd be willing to help in any way, shape, or form, you know, to request that the Department of Public Works do what they can to help these people until we can get this gravity drainage district funded so that we can go in there and fix the real problems.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Our drainage impact study and the regs we were operating under during that time said that anything over 20% would have to have a retention pond. Well, we were at 4.63% increase in outflow. And from 30 homes on 75 acres, which means everyone has about 2.5 acres. We didn't disturb the land. We didn't push all the trees down. We left them there to the natural vegetation to absorb it. And the challenge that we have here is simple. The water up north of us has been diverted out of the road ditch into the center of our property, which flows into our retention pond, which completely overwhelms the retention pond. And then when it does go out, it goes back into the ditches. And then when it goes down the road, it can't get out because the culverts have been pulled. And so it tries to go through a lateral ditch that goes out through the woods, and there's only 2 culverts there. And again, our engineers, I think, did some excellent work determining what the flow rates would be. And when Mr. Sam told me, we'll approve it, we need what you're doing, we need it for the drainage district and the rec district, I said, that's great, and let's get it done. He said, we'll fix the drainage. And we got the part for the retention pond outflow cleared, but the rest of it hasn't been done. And it's killing our roads. It's killing our roads.
I want to say one thing real quick.
Bubba then Randy.
You had mentioned earlier about how people were having a problem with their mopeds and they were backing up into their homes.
I'm worried about that, yes, sir.
Well, let me tell you something that I've learned. They do make a check valve that goes on the end of that pipe going into the ditch or whatever.
Yes, sir. I've seen those.
And they're around $30 or $40 a piece. Those can be put on the end of that pipe. And they have some in Montrose subdivision like that right now.
I think that's a brilliant idea. The challenge that we have, Mr. Harris, is that the water sits in the ditches sometimes for 4 or 5 days, and these folks, I'm worried that they may have problems with it going past the check valve or even being able to use the rest. We just need to go ahead.
Hey, Randy.
Okay, I'm gonna say a few words. Maybe I'm not doing a good job as a councilman, but he has a real problem out there. I've been out there several times like most people has, and I've met with administration at least 4 times, maybe 5 times. And the solution to the problem is different depending on which side you're on. He has outlined some of the problems Mr. Netherly has. So I take those solutions he has, I bring them to administration, and they said those won't work. So that's why I'm at a standstill, and that's why he's up here. I don't know what else to do for him. Those 30 homes are gonna be like, if nothing happens, they're gonna be like that forever and ever. Whoever sits here for the next 100 years is not gonna get better on his own. Something has to happen. And the state has been involved, but the state keeps pushing it back on us, keeps pushing it back, they keep changing their criteria. Some of that water has to go on the state highway, but we can't make it go there without the state getting involved. I would like at the bare minimum, one additional solution not yet, is pass a resolution asking the state for these special circumstances, taking in mind that we had the coronavirus money coming up, that could maybe be possible to use for some of this stuff. That other issue that he was talked about briefly is Sam has already sent out people to make sure that he made the development the way that it was designed to do. He's exceeded what he's supposed to do to try to catch some of that water. And he's still not been able to solve all the drainage they have. Problems that is there. It ain't just on his piece of property. That road is flooding. I know it's 4 foot deep there the other day when I was there the road. So I don't know if the parish dug that ditch that is now bringing water to his property. I don't know who dug that ditch. I don't know if that is even in the equation, because I'm not an engineer either. But I know somebody's got to find that out, because if not, we're letting these people down. But I don't know what to do anymore. I talked to both sides.
I'm just asking, is it possible that we can pass a resolution to request the Livingston Parish Administration do a drainage impact study to try to figure out the true problem
I
and
think
develop
that,
the true solution?
Shane, I think they've determined, I mean, we said, there was a request sent to DOT. And DOT basically will consider the permitting of the installation of culverts. The issue is that there's some other work that needs to be done. All driveways south need to have their culverts loaded in an effort, to increase drainage. And there need to be culverts replaced under C.B. Wheat, as I understand it, or Clyde Blunt. Okay, Clyde Blunt. Okay, yeah. Okay. But anyway, DOT's not going to bear the cost of that. We're not developers. We don't have,
No, just the parish road ditch, though. You're talking about the culverts being
But
put in the parish road ditch?
see, because of the distance because of the relation to the state highway, DOT controls those culverts under Clyde Blunt. So basically, the state will consider the permitting if a design is put together. The administration obviously doesn't feel that they need to participate in this thing. I think that Mr. Nedley could get the work done, and it could be done, but I think he's gonna have to bear the cost of that situation.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I met with DOT, their department head, a man by the name of Phil Graves. Very smart civil engineer, and also met with Clay Scheckschneider out there, the Speaker of the House, on that same day. Mr. Graves pointed and said, someone's removed those culverts off of the right-of-way. Now, here's our conundrum, and it's unbelievable when you really think about it. The state permits every culvert that accesses that highway. And they tell you where it goes exactly, and you have to submit a coordinate to install that culvert. And they tell you what depth it's at. Now, the culverts that were pulled used to work for all those culverts downstream. This new twist of, well, we got to lower all the culverts. We did a drainage impact study. We submitted it to a very competent parish review engineer. And I don't know, I'm not smart enough to figure out what those inverts are. I could probably go back over the next 2 months and figure it out. But there used to be culverts there. In fact, they're still there. They're laying in the ditch. They pulled them out of the ditch and left them in the ditch. And now the water is the dam. Clyde Blunt and Paraloo became a dam. And what happens when that water comes up, it runs on the properties and floods the people on Paraloo and floods the people on Clyde Blunt because those culverts are gone.
I'm looking at this email from Phil Graves
Yes.
to Lewis Parish Public Works, and their recommendation is that the driveways south are lowered so that positive drainage is established. I mean, it's not anything that's being made up. I mean, DOT says they will consider the permitting if all those driveway culverts are lowered to create positive drainage. And they will clean the sections between the new and replaced culverts, but they will not do it at their expense.
Look at the date of that email.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
That's before the first house was ever built.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the problem's been identified. Is there a motion for the resolution with the second?
I'd like to make that
We
motion.
got a motion and we got a second from Tracy. Is there any, Ms. Sandy, you want to call the roll on the resolution?
What's that?
What's the resolution going to say, Randy?
I would state that the parish council would like or suggest that the state DOTD provide a plan on the state road how to get the water. We're gonna get the water to the state road. How's he gonna remove it? We're not gonna be able to lower culverts. We're not gonna be able to replace culverts. Those are all state things. We ask that they give us some suggestions. The road where they bypassed the ditch at on Highway 63 and then went through these people's property, who did that? You know, that's what we wanna know. Who's flooding these people out? Did the state do that? Did the parish do that? There's no drainage district there.
It could have been done when they dug that hole and capped that landfill
And it
20
could
years
be.
ago. I
and
mean,
it
you
could
understand what I'm
be.
saying? I mean, we don't know when that stuff happened. It could be that was done
But
like that.
for the resolution, let's just don't throw it away. Let's just see if we can try one more time. And maybe, is it legal for me to be a contact person, or does it has to be administration?
I think
From DOTD,
I think DOT, I mean, I think the resolution needs to be asked the administration to make another run at DOT, but it's up to you.
But that's fine.
And then, but I think that DOT in October of 2019 had a plan. You know, they just weren't gonna fund the plan. So, you know, the plan's been established for a long time, how to solve these problems, and they weren't addressed prior to the property being sold. And DOT's probably not gonna come back retroactively and do it, but if you wanna put that resolution, have the administration ask them that. Do you wanna second that, Tracy?
I'll second
Ms. Sandy, will you call a roll?
Mr. Ard,
Yes.
Mr. Talbert,
No.
Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. McMorris,
Yes.
Mr. Gillette,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Mack,
Yeah.
Mr. Dean,
Yes.
Mr. Greenhouse.
Okay, the item carries. The administration will send a letter requesting help from DOT one more time.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Randy, one quick question. He said the ditches needed to be cleaned on 5-1. Did anybody put a work request in for that?
I took, Public Works down there a couple times, and, he told me that the water that's sitting on top of the road will still sit on top of the road if you put 5 or 6 buildings in there.
I wasn't saw it.
And he shot profile. I'm not gonna say it's not right or it is
I'm
right.
just saying that he
Yes.
says ditches need to be cleaned. That shouldn't be nothing but work.
Well, there's nowhere else to take it if they don't put a culvert on 5 Blunt Road. There's nowhere else to take it.
I probably need to add, DOTD cleaned the culvert, the ditches all the way through. But when they got just south of Clark Run, they couldn't get permits from the parish, which is a conundrum because it's 100-foot right of way for the road. And they're asking the parish to put a permit, which is actually probably a stall tactic or something. I don't know. But they've cleaned the ditches.
Why the administration wouldn't grant a permit to DOT doesn't seem to make sense to me, but
I agree completely.
Okay. Item 18, adopt a resolution naming unnamed servitude Braden Lane located off Louisiana Highway 16 in Council District 3, Mr. Marty Scooter King. Scooter, I'm looking at this drawing.
Yeah.
Where are the streets at? I mean, I see a 40-foot all-purpose servitude on lot 1, and I don't see another servitude marked. So where are the streets at?
I pulled it up on my email. Let's see.
It comes,
It goes through one.
this is the,
I know what piece of property is. I'm just trying to figure out why we putting 3 streets on it. When there's one all-purpose servitude in the drawing, there is no other servitude in the
that's the only
drawing.
thing they name it is the servitude.
No, there's 3 names here.
That's,
Oh, there's 3 options?
yeah.
Yeah, no, there's only one, it's just
Okay,
that
so
one
we're just
servitude.
naming the 40-foot
Yeah,
servitude?
that's all.
Okay,
For 911 purposes, all they name
Okay,
it.
so
Yeah, I'll make it.
the motion is Braden, and that application gave 3 options.
Right.
Okay, got a motion by Braden, second by Mr. Mack. Is there any objection? All in favor say aye. Aye. 19, consideration to adopt a resolution for a waiver request of section 125-9 submittals to allow the subdivision of lot 7 and the 2 lots to be known as 7A and 7B within Arnold Air subdivision located off Burgess Road for Anthony Vance in Council District 3. Mr. Keene, I'm pretty positive you voted for this ordinance.
Yes, I did, and I also look at things on a case-by-case basis, and it's been done over there so many times over. It's not really a subdivision. We know what our intent of the ordinance was, and this is a named subdivision in that only.
Made a motion?
Yes, that's a motion.
Are the neighbors next to it subdivided?
No, it's a trailer park.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Keene, second by Mr. Delat. Is there any objection? All in favor say aye.
Wait, you got a question?
Okay.
I'm just looking at this, the stretch road, that's
Right.
That's your,
The
right away.
the right of way to go to the back one. They already got a trailer there, taking one out and replacing
Is
it
there-
and adding one in replace of the other.
You can clarify.
You can, if you want to hear.
Is there a there's no setback requirement on servitude? It looks like servitude's touching the
There's
structure.
not, there's no setback.
Actually, I can clarify it all real quick.
Yeah, come on, Ralph.
I was going off memory. Where we're dealing with,
I mean, on Burgess, you know, we're a trailer.
7A makes a,
You want to state your name and address? please?
oh, sure, sorry about that. Ralph Burgess, Civil Design and Construction, address 30562 Burgess Road, Dennis Springs.
Right down the street.
Right down the street. In fact, I've surveyed this area all my entire life. Anyway, 7A is actually has a frontage of 40 foot back, so it actually has a frontage. We put a 25-foot building line in the rear of it, so behind 7B to create the frontage we needed, which is usually for like a flag lot. We've gotten approved before. 7B in the front is where there's an existing house. The house is non-repayable. They're going to tear down a house and move a new double wide in that area. The mother actually lives in the back residence already, so that's basically what we're asking. It's just a name subdivision. Arnold's actually owned this years and years ago, and they divided it up. Sierra, some of y'all know this area, Sierra Price Trail Park. It's just on the south side of this. Has been a division of property between lots
3 and 4 that's also next to this into multiple lots with nothing there has been developed out of that. But, so we're just asking, because it's a named subdivision, because it actually says Arnold Ayers subdivision.
I'm good.
So we've got a motion and a second, and is there any objection? No objection, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt resolution for number 20.
Okay, item 20 to, resolution to appoint a Fisher Parish Journal as mandated by the Louisiana Revised Statute 43, 150 and revised statute 43, 174 and submit to Louisiana Secretary of State. I assume that the Livingston Parish News will be the official journal again. So we got a motion by Randy to make the Livingston Parish News the official journal, second by Mr. Ard. Any objection? All in favor say aye. Aye. Committee reports, item 21A, Ordinance Committee.
Well, we met Tuesday. We discussed, basically we either tabled or deferred everything on the agenda, so I think it was prudent to discuss what we talked about until we have something to talk about.
Okay.
I want to ask a question about the ordinance committee.
You could, sure.
I would like to suggest that y'all look at the rivers getting a certain height and that you would have a no wait or no travel on that river when it reaches that height, instead of people calling in and say, is it in, is it closed, is it not closed, and then the sheriff's got to get with Homeland Security.
We could ask Homeland to do
Bring
that.
that to us and we will put it.
I just don't know how to write that ordinance.
Lauren does.
Throw it on you.
Sandy
Throw it
does.
on you.
Sandy does.
If y'all can come up with a number, and
Yes,
then
it's
give it
gotta
to the
be a
girls, and the girls will
number.
probably write it.
Whether it's
if
Fort
that's what-
or Prince Albert Bridge or wherever, you know.
The only problem with that is that the flow rate's always the same no matter what height it's at. That's what they worried about debris.
Well, I don't think that's what they should worry about. I think they should worry about people's properties that live on the water.
Pushing the water out into, yeah, because I was down there
Well,
Friday.
we'll put something together and then you can look at it.
If you have a public hearing on that, you'd fill this place up.
You know, one thing too,
Well, we
I was
don't do
actually,
that.
just to add to that, I mean, I was fishing in Lake Barrett the other day, and their parish does that, you know, when the water level gets so high.
I think
they don't-
Ascension does it.
They don't close it, but they actually require a idle zone in every stretch of water, period.
When there's
You know.
when there's a man-made bulkhead.
I don't know, I was just something I noticed, that they required everybody idle throughout the Lake Barrett area if the water stays.
Yeah,
low.
people's
Is
dogs
there
and
a possibility
everything,
to work with Homeland Security on the river stages?
Yeah, let them,
Because they determine, you know, they say when we're gonna close it and when we're gonna
I
open it
believe
back up.
if we put something together, like Randy said, all the details will get banged out in the meetings. So we'll put a framework together.
And I know Ascension Parish is doing it, just started doing it, so we probably won't have something, because we share the same rivers. you know.
people will know then is what you're saying. They won't have to call in. They'll know if it gets 23 feet,
Yeah.
don't make a wait.
Okay. Item B, finance. Mr.
All
Ard.
right, we got quite a bit to go over. All right, first, good news, sales taxes is up by about $500,000. So that's more money to spend on
Drainage.
roads, drainage.
Well, I mean, the sales tax is dedicated, so.
Yeah, it's
it
dedicated
means-
tax, but it definitely more money than what we've been having. The COVID money, the American Rescue Plan, looks like we're gonna get around 27 million, maybe a little bit more. Broadband is one of these. The restrictions are not as strenuous as they expected, so it looks like it might be a little bit easier to use this in locations. In order for them to do that, Jennifer is needing a list of roads or areas that are in need of this service, so that they can put together, you know, some type of plan. We can figure out which one of these actually will qualify to get this.
What I'm gonna do, Mr. Ord, is just post it on Facebook, who's not having service, and whatever people call, that's what, I know Sandy's not, because I get that.
Well, for the love of God, let's take care of that place in Livingston.
Yeah,
Well, it had some requirements. They had to be low
Yeah.
income, which,
yeah, so it was low income was part of it, so I mean, it's, right now, we just give her the list that doesn't have it, and then she can kind of bang it out from there, what actually will qualify.
With the exception of our chairman, we're all low income.
Dude, what about y'all? I'm low income, my darn self.
I am.
All right, Also, they're setting up a meeting with Robbie Miller, parish president for Tangi, to try to work together on this broadband thing, to develop a plan that'll help, I think she said, five parishes together. So that meeting's gonna be worked on. She had a paper filing about that thick of the rules. Said that her and Steve were both gonna read these rules and figure out all the other ways that other projects.
She mentioned drainage and water
Drainage,
and sewage.
Yeah. So
No drainage, sewer and water.
Water and sewer improvements is part of it. HVAC system upgrades is part of it. And like I said, they'll put together a list of projects that might qualify.
Incentives.
Yeah. So once she's done all the rules, she might send something to us to say, hey, this is kind of what we're looking for. Do y'all have any needs that we can put together on that?
Yeah, on that same thing you was talking about, Mr. Ord, after she left the meeting, I asked her who's going to be in charge, who's going to be giving the money out. Was it the governor's office, which division, whatever? That money's coming straight to Livingston Parish. They themselves are going to give out. So the criteria, they don't have to meet the criteria from somebody else judging if they eligible to get this.
That is.
The whole 27. Now she says if you're in an incorporated area, whether it's Denham Springs, Walk, or whatever, they do have to go to the governor's office to apply
For their parts.
But the municipalities have to go to the governor, the parishes do not. It goes directly from the treasury to the parishes. That's what she told me.
And they have not received any of the funding.
Have not
as of yet.
received any yet.
What else was it?
All right, and then the auditors are finished, and we'll be getting reports soon on that. And then the last one, Shane, do you want to touch on the invoice?
Yeah, so we, consolidated gravity drainage district 6 and 7, and the legal description of the property boundaries, had to be consolidated. It had to be done by, engineered firm, surveyor, that kind of stuff. Alvin Fairman and Associates took care of that, but it came with a $1,500 invoice. They did a really good job in a short amount of time, but can we support administration adjusting the budget to pay for this $1,500 invoice?
We got a resolution to pay for, help pay the, ask the administration to pay, we got one by Randy, second by Tracy, all in favor, say aye. All in favor, say aye. So we just ask them, typically, we don't amend the budget during the year,
Yeah.
but if we give them permission or we concur on something, they know that we've approved the spending and they'll come back at a later date, so.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we
That's
got.
all I have.
All right.
That's all I got.
22, let's hear it.
Everything's quiet on my end, gentlemen.
Nothing to report. How much did you get
Oh,
paid to
real
pay
quick,
that?
Holden girls softball won the state championship again.
Nice. Good job. Good job, Hope.
Councilman comments, I have one.
Yes, sir.
We still have some flooded areas down there and homes, and I want to kudos to administration. They've been on top, and I mean, they always are, but I think they exceeded all expectations. It's hard to be happy when you're flooded, but those people just comment after comment. There's been parish trucks that, water's still that deep on some roads, and the parish trucks fix some washouts so they can get to the homes to get that carpet and floors and furniture ripped out. And they wanted to make sure that I told Mr. Lake, which I did personally, but I also wanted to say it in the meeting that I know he got beat up here Monday, but those same people that beat him up wanted to make sure that he got congratulated on his work. And Sam did a fantastic job keeping this thing around.
Been hopping.
Anything else on the council comments?
Memorial Day observance is Monday. Everybody remember those who fought for our country and died. And it's very important. And in today's climate, I don't think those people are remembered enough.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So
Boy, everybody wants, motion to adjourn is by everybody and seconded by everybody. No objection.